They see the pictures online, they're like, oh, this looks good. And then they end up committing, paying up front for like the whole year. They get there and they're like, this is actually terrible. Always go to the place first to see what it's actually like.
Coming out of their house, it was like a dirt road. There was nothing else. And now literally within, 20, 30 years, it's just ballooned into this whole metropolis.
I think the UK is having a big drain of millionaires. It's literally built to entertain. Everything's so easy. Everything is so convenient. It's very clean, very safe. It just makes you want to work and get stuff done.
Are there any downsides to living in Dubai?
There's many, many upsides of Dubai, and obviously that's the reason why I'm still here, but one of the biggest downsides.
So in this video, I'm joined by a very special guest, a client of ours at Capture Accounting, who probably needs no introduction, but I'll introduce him in a second. We're going to be talking about all things to do with living in Dubai, moving to Dubai, doing business in Dubai, the practical aspects of what it's like, and then go into a bit of a story about his story of how he got here and what he plans to do next. So, introducing Mike Thurston. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
All good, very good. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Good to be and good to see you here again. So, let's rewind the clock, shall we? Because we first met a few years ago. I think it was probably 2016, 2017. I remember reaching out to you, didn't I? Because I used to be a fan of your YouTube channel back in the early days.
It was the email, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was our first contact.
It's probably an email that is when you were doing those flip chart videos. You know, you were sitting in your gym back in Newcastle, wherever it was, and doing the flip charts and some good content. And I think at the time I reached out to you about pricing or something. I think you were trying to sell your app or something. I said you should do it in 3 options, and then we got talking. And then you reached out to me, and then, we got started probably 2017 or something. What motivated you to then look at options to move out of the UK? Let's start there. Why did you consider coming to Dubai? Did you consider any options?
After Newcastle, I'd obviously moved to London. I spent 3 years there because obviously London is like the place to be for opportunities and networking within the UK. So I gave that a try, came to the realization that I think this was around 2019, probably not the place for me. I spent that year literally just traveling around trying to figure out where could the next potential spot be for me to be based. And I knew that there was a certain number of, categories that needed to be ticked off. First of all was the climate and the weather. I needed somewhere that was going to be sunny almost every day. I needed a beach or beach clubs because I like that kind of vibe. I needed good gyms, like really good gyms where I could film at. And then just somewhere refreshing, new, up and coming, lots of people coming in and out. And after traveling to a lot of places, went to America a few times, a lot of places in Europe, Dubai, I ended up going to 2 or 3 times. And every time I went there, I was like, this seems like the place for me. So yeah, end of 2019, I made the move. Although it wasn't going to be a permanent move, it was going to be more of a let's feel it out for a couple of months and see what it's like.
Yeah, a lot of people do that, right? That I'm going to come here, I'll do, even a year, 2 years, see how it goes, and then they never end up going back. 10 years later, they're still here.
Well, there's those that go there and stay, or there's those that go, spend all their money and have to retreat and go back home.
There is those as well. Yeah. So going back to the early days then, when you first came here, so it was before lockdown, right?
Yeah.
How did you go about finding an apartment, things like that? So let's talk about some practical aspects. Did you stay in an Airbnb first, get a feel? What kind of area did you stay in? So talking about kind of areas that you have stayed in, what are advantages of some areas over other areas? The
most important thing to do when you're coming out here is not to commit to something long-term. First of all, because you don't know the area, you don't know what places you like. You might not have even seen the apartment, which is the most important thing. You have to see where you're going to stay first to get a feel for the vibe, the energy, the location, and just everything. Because I know a lot of people, they see the pictures online, they're like, oh, this looks good. And then they end up committing, paying up front for like the whole year. They get there and they're like, this is actually terrible, or it looks nothing like what I expected it to look like, or there's problems. The air conditioning might be really loud, or like there's noise from outside construction. So always go to the place first to see what it's actually like. And then my recommendation would be to, like what I did, I was paying for somewhere short term. So this was basically you would pay per month. Okay, so I found a place. I ended up choosing JBR, so Jumeirah Beach Residence next to the marina. The reason why I liked that was because it felt a little bit more westernized than the rest of the city. Services there, restaurants, cafes, you could walk everywhere, and it had the beach. So I knew I wanted to be there. I found a place, I think it was a duplex apartment. It was quite nice, but again, it didn't quite look like the pictures, but it was acceptable. for what I was looking for at that point in time. And then, yeah, I was paying month on month. So it was good, but I've got to appreciate the fact that times were different back then. It certainly wasn't as popular as it is now. So I think there certainly was a lot more availability in terms of apartments, and they were probably more flexible and not as expensive as they are now.
Typically, what do things cost these days? And obviously it depends on area and things like that, but on average, say for let's say a 2-bedroom apartment in a decent area, I guess, maybe if you've got experience of talking about certain areas that you lived in, typically what kind of...
Well, I think as a general rule of thumb, the closer you are to the beach or any kind of waterfront, you're going to be paying more of a premium price, because Dubai is kind of like, it's a city built along the coast. So the nearer to the coast you are, the more expensive it's going to be. So anybody moving first time, trying to, be a little bit more conservative with expenses and paying rent, I would suggest moving further inland. Okay, so where there's, you're surrounded by more of the desert. Obviously, it doesn't look as beautiful. The view's maybe not as nice, but it's certainly a lot cheaper. So you could get a good place, 2-bedroom. Maybe it's got like a sauna, gym, car park, balcony. Probably looking at £2,000-3,000 per month, I would imagine. What they have here, which is really good, is service apartments. So the service apartments, like the one I have at the moment, everything's included. So electricity, gas, they have cleaning, people coming once a week. So that's, for me, it's very convenient, because moving from place to place and then trying to get your broadband sorted out, the electricity sorted out, can sometimes be a headache.
And I guess the other thing you've got to contend with and take into account is the traffic, right? So if in certain areas, getting in and out, that impacts on your daily life, right?
Yeah, so that's definitely been a problem for me over the past couple of years. So being in JBR, even the marina itself, it's very congested. From basically 4-5 p.m. onwards throughout the whole evening, there's just this long line of traffic of people trying to get into JBR. So that's kind of reduced the quality of life for sure. Because for me now, sometimes I just won't even go out on an evening, because I'm like, I know if somebody invites me to go downtown, it's probably going to take me an hour there. And it's got to the point now where I don't even like to drive in the evening, because I will literally spend 2 hours sat in the car. So I'm actually ordering Ubers or getting drivers to take me around, so at least I can be productive in the car. So that there's many upsides of Dubai, and obviously that's the reason why I'm still here. But one of the biggest downsides is the traffic. Like there's just too many people coming here now, and I don't know if they were prepared for that or not. Maybe not. But I think if there's any city or government that's going to fix it and come up with solutions, it's going to be Dubai. They have proposed all these things like flying taxis, all these like pods which are going to be going around on monorails. So I think there will be a solution. I think they are actually, in general, moving the entire city kind of further south. So they're completely relocating the airport. So the main airport is going to be pushed further south, close to the new Palm, Jebel Ali, which is twice the size of the original Palm. So I think things are going to be a lot more spaced out, and hopefully with that spacing out, it should ease the congestion around downtown Burj Khalifa and the airport. No matter where you are located, it feels like wherever you want to go, it's like 20 minutes away, at least. Mm-hmm. I think strategically, if you wanted to base yourself in the middle of the city, Jumeirah along Kite Beach would be a good place, or maybe Emirates Hills. So you've got Al Quoz, which is the industrial estate, which has all the gyms, which is basically where I will spend most of my time going to. So if I wanted to be located somewhere closest to where I would spend most of my time, it would be around Al Quoz. So maybe in along Kite Beach, or further inland around Emirates Hills.
There's Dubai Hills now as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's so talking to my cousin who's in property out here, and that is, although a few years back that would have been considered quite far out, but actually that's now where the centre of the city is going to be, because you're going to have the airport coming on the other side. Then that's where it's becomes a lot more central. So
taking into account what kind of person you are and what you like around you. So for me, for example, I live alone. So because I live alone, I like to be in the mix. Like I like to see people, and I like to be very close to the action, because I have the option of either being in my apartment by myself or going out and seeing people. So that's why I quite like being where I am now. If I was to relocate further out and say, for example, be in a villa, which I could probably afford, although it would be unnecessary to have like a 4-bedroom villa just for me, I don't think I would like that. It would be a little bit too quiet. a little bit too sort of lonely for me. So I think if you're going to be living with people or you have a family, getting a villa further out would make a lot more sense. But for me, my bachelor pad most definitely needs to be in the mix.
Absolutely. So you walk out and there's people. Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, and there's quite a few families we work with, and they get a villa inland, and it's fine for them because they need to be near schools and to be a part of a community where kids can play with other kids when they're going out and things like that. But everyone's different. So how have you found having a car here then? Do you get to use it much given the traffic situation?
Yes, I would say having a car is pretty much essential unless you are going to be getting Ubers and taxis everywhere. It's basically two choices. Of course, they have public transport. They have the main monorail that kind of goes through the city, but realistically, most people probably won't be taking that. I think actually having a car, you first come here, don't get something flashy. There's no point trying to compete with everybody else because you will always be poorer than the people you're competing with. I mean, you compete with people who are driving like Rolls Royces, Lamborghinis, Bugattis, like McLarens, everything. So coming out here, stay humble, just get a practical, functional car. You got to think about the fuel price as well. It's very cheap. Look, I filled up my car the other day from pretty much nothing. I think it only cost me like £50. We're talking less than half price than the UK and the rest of Europe.
That's for like a gas guzzler, right? What's the engine size? Is it V6?
That's a V8.
V8.
Yeah. The only other thing you have to watch out for is speed cameras, because they will get you. I mean, it's not like the UK where you will get points. I mean, to get like points, I don't know what the system is here, but to get like an actual ban here in Dubai, you have to do something like really reckless. So they have the speed cameras, and basically that's just a money maker for them. So they actually want you to speed, like not too much, but just enough so they can make some money off you. And then there's the Salik, which is like the toll gates, which you have to pay for. And then you got your valet parking. Most of the time it's free. Sometimes they'll charge you. And then there is an abundance of parking here. But in general, I would say driving isn't that expensive.
And how did you find getting a car out here? Was it quite easy in terms of buying a car, used car, new cars, and then getting servicing, maintenance for cars which aren't probably, is there any issues like having German cars? Because I know in some places that they say it's hard to get parts in, or they're more expensive if you have a German car compared to like a Japanese car or an American car, for example.
Yeah, I found the process pretty straightforward. So I actually went through Dubizzle. So that is like, what is that the equivalent of? It's like an online trade marketplace for the Middle East where you can pretty much buy anything you want. A lot of brand new things, a lot of secondhand things. So there was a particular car which I wanted. I searched for it, and it just so happened that like the exact car was available from a seller in Dubai. And he ended up becoming a good friend of mine, actually. He works in finance. So I met him, got to know him, test drove it, and then just ended up making the transaction, and then everything was kind of transferred over. The only issue was because my residency was given to me in Ajman, it meant that I had to drive to Ajman to get the plates changed over from Dubai plates to Ajman plates, and just sign a couple of documents. So that was a slight inconvenience. I actually don't know a huge amount about this, because when you come to Dubai, you can set up your business in a trade free zone. Yeah. But you have the free zones in Dubai. You can have it in Sharjah, Ajman. So actually, that's something I should probably ask you about. Like, which one would you go for, and what should you choose? Yeah,
I think when we first met, we weren't doing it ourselves, so we referred you to somebody who
trade license zone.
Trade license zone, yeah. And back then, so you were, fairly early on. We were talking about 2019, right? There weren't as many free zones as they are now. So the one that you did was cost effective at the time, but there are some inconveniences like you found having to go there to do it. Now there are a lot more. And the ones that we are now favoring are based in Dubai. So one that we've used quite a lot is Meydan. Meydan is based in more in near a downtown area. So it's at the Meydan Hotel where the race course is. And that's fairly central. So it's easier to get to. Now, different free zones have different, like if you're doing, depending on your trading activity, you then choose a free zone accordingly that allows you to get a license with that trading activity. Now, for you as a content creator, influencer, most free zones are okay. But if you're into, say, financial services, then you've got to go to like the IFC, for example. which is a lot more expensive. But then for that particular trading activity, you need to go to a free zone that will allow you to get a license because it's more highly regulated. So it just depends on what you're doing. For most businesses, things like Maidan that we use, or IFSA is another one, would be okay.
What would the complexities be if you were to transfer from one free zone to another?
Yeah, so that can be quite complicated, as we found, because the whole visa gets cancelled and reissued, and that can cause a few complications. So, but that's something that you can have a chat about with Brendan afterwards.
I just wondered if the viewers would want to know that or not.
Yeah, just get it
It's
right
boring,
from the outset.
guys. It's really boring.
It's boring stuff. We'll do another video on that another day. So moving on to more exciting stuff. Yeah. So we're in Dubai. We've kind of scoped out what area we want to be in. We know traffic is an issue. We don't want to be too close to the beach initially. We do some short-term lets to get a feel of where we want to be. So then what about, how have you found living here and doing business here, like running your business from Dubai? Have you found that has led to more opportunities for you? Have you found that you've actually been able to grow and scale as an entrepreneur here much better, faster than you would have if you'd been stuck back in the UK?
Yes, 100%. Probably strategically speaking, one of the best moves that I could have made, particularly at the time that I did. If anything, I'm kind of thinking maybe I should have made that move sooner, but it is what it is. I had a good year in 2019 traveling around, and I think going to Dubai when I did, there was a lot of people who initially were thinking, why have you done that? Like, why do you want to go all the way to the Middle East? People were thinking Dubai was a very conservative place. So it did raise a lot of question marks, but I saw the potential in the city. And I knew that it was a tourist hotspot. So for what I do, my business, collaboration is very important, networking is very important. So I want to be in a city, a thriving, futuristic city where there's lots of people coming in and out. Okay, so that gives me like this constant stream of new people who I can meet up with and collaborate with. So almost immediately that was pretty amazing. Well, I mean, apart from COVID, that was pretty terrible because nobody could come in and out of the city. So that was not the best, but I don't think it was good for anyone. But after COVID, so we're talking probably September, October time. This is when Europe went through like the second round of lockdowns. Yeah. All the gyms started closing again. So everybody from Europe and other places were coming to Dubai because Dubai was letting people in and Dubai was open. So all these gyms were open. All the influencers came over, and it was everybody who came over knew that I was there. So they were like, oh yeah, Mike's in Dubai. So they would reach out to me and they would want to meet up, link up. And I remember that period of time I was just collaborating with everybody, like especially within the fitness industry. And then after that, I think this was we're looking 2021, 2022. I think 2022 in particular, I kind of wanted to branch out from just doing fitness content and get more into business and be more particular with who I was surrounding myself with and choosing to spend time with. So I kind of made a sort of a pivot away from fitness into more business and lifestyle. My content switched up a little bit relating to that. I started collaborating with people who weren't in fitness, but more into sort of making money, lifestyle, things like that. And then I thought to myself, well, there's all these people who I'm speaking to, I'm having great conversations with them, but format of conversation in a vlog just doesn't really work. So I thought maybe I should start a podcast. So I decided to go ahead and start a podcast. I think this was end of 2022. And that's been amazing for continuing to grow my network, reach out to people and meet people who I would have never originally met. And, thanks to being in Dubai because of all these people coming in and out, it made it sort of very easy for me to do that.
So what would you say to someone so when they first come here, how did you, in terms of being able to meet up with those kind of people to build your network? Mm-hmm. I mean, you've got to follow anyway, so a lot of stuff comes to you directly. Mm-hmm. But when you're trying to branch out and go into that more entrepreneur space, what was any specific things you did? Was it just about linking up, going to the places where other people hang out and going to these networking meetings, or was it through just you have the opportunity to meet one person who then introduces to another person, and through conversations, that's how things happen? So,
I had an unfair advantage because I'd already kind of built my following and my brand. But for those people who are looking to meet and network with people, I always say, first of all, focus on your own personal brand and your social media. Okay, so if you can just be posting things or have a profile which shows that you live a relatively interesting life, you got things going on, you are a somebody, then automatically that could potentially open doors when you reach out to people. because they want to kind of see like who you are and what you're about and whether you're kind of interesting enough to want to socialize with.
Yeah.
So focusing on your own personal brand and your own social media is very important. For those people who maybe don't have that quite yet, or they're not really big on social media, there's a couple of things you can do. So the first thing would be to see what's going on in terms of these events. Maybe there's opening of restaurants, gyms, whatever it might be. Every week there's things going on. You can literally search on Google, Dubai, what's going on this week, and it will give you a list of things which are happening. And a lot of times you can just access these events, or maybe you have to pay a little fee to get inside, but then you're inside and then there's loads of people to kind of meet and talk to. There are lots of more private events for entrepreneurs. So these are almost like masterminds. I've done a few of them in the past. So these are a little bit more expensive, but you basically fast track your way to meeting interesting people who are quite hard to access. So for example, if you were to go to a mastermind and it would cost you a couple £1,000 just to attend, seems expensive, but then you got to realize that you automatically are going to be in a room full of 10, 15, maybe even 20 people who are all in the same boat as you. Maybe they've just moved to Dubai. They literally are just focused on self-development and they want to meet other people like you. So that's been a great opportunity. I mean, I've gone to a few of them. I've done mine. People have come to mine and people have kind of collaborated and met up with each other. So that's one way to do it. You can pay to kind of speed up the process. And even with just normal things like when it comes to joining a gym, I go to lots of gyms, but there's a few in particular which are higher priced than the rest. And they're priced higher because they want the members to be, like good quality, like a premium members. For example, 7, that's one of the gyms. The guys that go there, they all have money. They're all somebody, like they're doing something. And then you also get the added advantage of lots of pretty girls also being there. But we won't go into that. So it's not the best gym. I don't have the best sessions there, but I go there to show my face and to just catch up or meet up with other people who are doing very well in Dubai. Okay, so you can do that with gyms. You could do that with all these other things, any kind of things that you like to go to. Maybe it's restaurants. Maybe it's barbers. Like, I don't know. If you pay a premium price for something, you're probably going to be surrounded by other people who have a bit of money. The final thing I would say is just don't be shy to reach out to people. You're probably going to get a lot of no's, but you'll be surprised who may say yes. Okay, so anybody that you want to meet up with or reach out to, just ask them, see if they want to do it, and they might be open to it.
Yeah, and it's that kind of place, right, where everyone is here. They want to network, and that's why they're here.
Yeah.
So I certainly found that people are very open and willing, and it's easy to kind of meet up with people because I find that there's more hours in the day as well because it's like a 24-hour city. So whereas back home when things get dark or in the winter, 5 p.m., 6 p.m., that's it. Everyone's home.
Yeah,
they don't want to go out, don't do anything.
In London, like the streets are like empty at like 7, 8 o'clock. But here, everything is still going on till 2, 3 in the morning. All the restaurants are open. It
starts at 6, right? When the sun goes down, everyone comes out. Yeah. Crazy. So you're a gym man. So talk to us about some of the best gyms then in Dubai.
I have a long list of gyms, and it depends on what my mood is. So there's gyms I go to if I want to kind of socialize and be seen, or there's gyms I go to where I just want to have a great session and be left alone. So one good brand is the Warehouse Gym. Another one is WellFit. Another one is Train. So Train Strength and Fitness, Train Dubai Mall. There's Champs, another chain, which is very good. There's 7, which is the more kind of premium club. TKMMA. My recommendation would be for people who are thinking about joining a gym. Again, it's like the apartment situation. Don't just find one gym, pay for the year, and only go to that gym because you're kind of restricting yourself with the people who you'll meet, but also all the amazing gyms that are actually here. So if you have the funds, there's a lot of these places where they offer a day pass. So I would spend a bit of time going to different gyms, just paying for a day pass. It is a little bit more expensive than usual, but you get to see like all the different gyms here, which are amazing, and the vibe, like each gym has its own vibe and its own community and type of people. So there's certain gyms, for example, Binus, that's like the most famous bodybuilding gym. It's huge, but it's very intense and can be very overwhelming for an average gym goer. You walk in there, and like even I walk in there and I'm small compared to everyone. Like the women are bigger than me, so it's like pretty crazy. Going there might not be enjoyable for one type of person, but then there's another gym which has more of a kind of friendly, open community, like the Warehouse Al Quoz. I noticed there's quite a lot of expats that tend to go there. So if you are the type of person you're a fitness guy and you want to meet up with other fitness people, that can be a great option. Whereas there's other gyms which are literally just full of local people. And I've found that if you are a foreigner or Westerner, it might be a little bit harder to kind of blend in with the locals versus blending in and meeting up with other expats. Yeah. So that's something to kind of take into account as well.
Yeah, sure. So do you just do you have any memberships, or you just pay a day pass everywhere you go?
Well, again, I'm an outlier. I can go to
you can go anywhere
all
and get it for free.
Yeah. I think there's
new content.
There's one which I do pay for, Train SF, because that's probably one of my favorite gyms. But the rest of them, they let me go in for free.
Other practical aspects of living in Dubai, then, is there anything that you have found that has been, say, more difficult compared to what it would have been back home in the UK?
There's just so much more going on. So I remember when I lived in London, I didn't really go out and about a whole lot. So a typical day, I would go to the gym and then I would go back home. So there's a lot of time spent at home at my desk, which was my office, and I would kind of crack on, film, edit, and do my thing. The problem here is you look outside, the sun is out every day, and there are a million things going on every day. Like, especially me, like I look outside, I look at the beach. I can see probably about 5 beach clubs just from my window, and I can see a beach packed full of people. So there is a massive temptation to just get involved with what is going on. So if you struggle with FOMO, then you're probably going to struggle with living here. You have to be quite disciplined, and particularly the weekends as well. There's a very active nightlife scene. Every single night there's something going on. The weekends even more. And you can get into a friendship group of people who might like to go out quite a bit. And then all of a sudden you get sucked into the lifestyle of going out, partying, drinking. There's a lot of beautiful girls here. That's another distraction as well. So it's a lot easier to be spending your money. For example, a typical day of being distracted, you could wake up, go have breakfast, have a coffee. That'll cost you a load of money. Then go to a beach club. If you're paying for 2 people, which you're probably going to have to do if you are with a partner or you're dating someone, you're going to have to pay for 2 beds. You're going to have to pay for all the drinks. You're going to have to pay for all the food. Then if you want to go out for dinner or go out to a club or a bar, again, all these things are just going to add up. The drinks, very expensive. If you go into fancy places, very expensive. And before you know it, you could very easily be spending £500 to £1,000 a day. I know a lot of people who have come here, they kind of don't treat it quite like a home. They're still seeing it as this holiday destination. And I think I definitely felt like that. The first few months when I moved to Dubai, I was like, oh my God, like there's so much to do. There's so much going on. There's all these places I want to see. I was going out to meet people. So I noticed, especially back then in 2019, 2020, I was getting sucked into drinking quite a bit of alcohol, and I was having a negative impact on my work and my physique. And I just noticed that I was like spending a lot of time. I wasn't spending time sitting down and kind of closing myself off to do the work which I needed to do. So there is a big temptation to get distracted. You have to be quite disciplined with that. And it can be quite a competitive place in the workspace, but also in the dating space as well. So, you've got to be on top of your game if you want to have the success here.
All the perceptions of Dubai being conservative are not true, right? It's like the capital of hedonism, pretty much.
And every year it seems to be getting more and more relaxed. Even during Ramadan, it's like you don't even feel like it's Ramadan anymore. The first year I was here during Ramadan, it was like so quiet throughout the day. And all the restaurants and cafes would cover up their windows because they didn't want to offend the locals for the people that were going in there and eating and drinking. But now it's like everything's just open as normal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I first came here back in 1994. My uncle lives out here. They've lived out for years. and they have a house in Jumeirah. And back then, coming out of their house, it was like a dirt road. So you get a dirt road, really old taxi. You pay them 5 dirham cash to go anywhere. There was one cafe we could go to, which we'd go and have a shawarma and pool, but there was nothing else. And now, literally within 20, 30 years, it's just ballooned into this whole metropolis where it's just attracting anyone and everyone from whoever wants to be here, anywhere in the world. It's kind of money's coming into Dubai, right?
Well, it's literally built to entertain. So you got to understand that. It's interesting. There's thousands of people, well, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of millionaires throughout the world who are relocating to Dubai. I think the UK is having a big drain of millionaires moving towards Dubai. So this is the thing which I feel like is a trend which is going to continue as more wealthy people come here. They're going to keep putting the prices up. So that may price people out, or will force people to kind of maybe live outside of the city and then maybe needing to commute in and out, because inside of Dubai itself is just, in terms of the rent, getting a lot more expensive.
It's going to become like City of London, right? Where central London is majorly expensive, so most people live on the suburbs, and Dubai is just kind of expanding, and that hub will only get more expensive as time goes on.
But they're building a new rail system, high-speed rail system, which is going to be linking Dubai and Abu Dhabi. So I imagine if it was only going to take a short period of time to commute from Dubai to Abu Dhabi, maybe a lot of people would end up moving and living in Abu Dhabi and just getting the train into the city. Right?
Yeah, we certainly found out in terms of, what's happening in the UK with taxes being hiked left, right and centre with the new government that's in place, and particularly discouraging entrepreneurs really from making money because they're just taxing you more and more. We're finding that more and more people are inquiring about coming to Dubai. We're helping probably 3 or 4 people a month relocate here. And that's just us. I heard in the last quarter, there's about 300,000 Brits that moved to Dubai. And that's only going to get, the number's only going to go up. Yeah. So it's very easy to spend money in Dubai, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it helps you to make money, but it's easy to spend money. So what have you found in terms of, obviously, you work with us and we try and help you to some extent, but what tips would you have on money management then, so your expenses don't go out of control?
It's weird, like relatively speaking, do you have more disposable income in Dubai? Yes, you certainly do. But because it's much easier to spend, it's kind of like, I feel like you're the same as you were, like, for example, living in the UK, because you'd have a chunk of your income that would go on tax, but my lifestyle was much cheaper in the UK, whereas my lifestyle here is more expensive, but then I don't have to pay as much tax. So I think overall it's definitely better being here, but that's something to take into account. But yeah, definitely having an accountant and somebody who understands finances and money is going to be massively helpful. I think I do have a tendency to like to spend because I just have so much confidence that the money's always going to come in. I think, especially working with you guys, it's having the summary of where the money's going, how much is coming in, how much is going out, what the money's been spent of, has been massively helpful. And then obviously I'm looking forward to working with Brandon and potentially discussing where to allocate some of my income, because it's with things which are going on and happening, it's just getting better and better. And I don't want to be sucked into the trap of like buying a new car or buying watches or traveling even more. Like it's, I'm getting a little bit older now, 34. So I do want to plan for the future. And how reliant can I be on social media? It's very competitive. It's all about, who's relevant and who is a hot topic. And if something happens and I'm no longer relevant, then, I need to make sure that I can still continue to make money long into the future. Yeah.
It's about diversifying, right? Kind of using that income capital into putting your eggs in other baskets, so you're not completely reliant on the golden goose at the moment, which is doing quite well. But as you say, you never know how long the shelf life is going to be. Have you got any ideas in terms of what you're going to potentially branch out into? Well,
this is the thing, property. I get messages all the time, people saying, "Oh, do you want to invest in this? Do you want to invest in that?" And it's something which I'm thinking about, and it probably would make sense because since I do have the plan of being based here at least for the next 5 years or more, probably should start to think about getting a property. But that's something which I need to learn more about and obviously speak to people who I actually trust and are not going to do me over. That's one thing you need to watch out for, is the amount of people working in real estate who are, they're actually not that well educated or experienced. They're just trying to make money off you. So they'll, they'll sell you deals which are actually not that good. So watch out for them and take your time. And then I think at this stage, it's obviously I spend quite a lot of my income on investing in myself, my personal brand, and expanding the team so that I can continue to do what I do best and just have other people do what I don't want to do, or maybe I'm not very good at. I think at this stage where I am now, I'm looking to probably just invest into other startups or companies which I believe in or I'm interested in, instead of trying to start something from scratch myself, which is very time consuming and stressful and risky. It would be quite good to team up with people who already have an existing product or service, which I use. For example, Bionic. They're a company which I've invested in. It's a supplement company. I've been taking the personalized supplements since 2021. I'm a good friend with the founder. We've been working together for the past couple of years, and then they've just announced yesterday that Cristiano has invested. So my share price is like absolutely ballooned. So this has been a very good first trial run of investing into other companies. So I think that's something which I'm quite interested in, because I have the audience. I look like a good potential partner to team up with, because I have a strong brand. I think people trust in what I say, and I've got a big reach. So I think that's the kind of the direction I would like to move into, as opposed to starting a completely new business from scratch by myself.
Yeah. And for those of you, Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Just in case you're thinking of another Cristiano. But yeah, cool. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, we see that with other creators that we work with, where they build that audience and following, and then invest in startups or in brands which are aligned to their values, because they've got product, they've got service, and you've got audience. So when you make that match together, it's kind of it's going to work for both of you, isn't it?
For a while, I've been allocating a certain amount of money to somebody who invests in the stock market on my behalf. So they have more experience than I do, and they invest in what they think would be a smart investment, and that's been quite good. Although I would like to start learning more about the stock market and actually make some trades, like me doing it instead of somebody else doing it, just to get a feel for what it's like, because I think investing in the market can be, obviously it's a little bit risky, but it's certainly better than investing in Bitcoin. Like to this day, I have not invested in Bitcoin. Some people have said it's a stupid thing. Other people have said it's probably a smarter thing. I think every time I've thought about investing would have been a terrible time to invest. So it's been okay. Although, from people who I kind of trust and they're in the game, they foresee the price of Bitcoin going to like $100,000 per coin. But I don't know enough about it to know whether that's true. Have you invested?
I have indeed.
Okay, maybe I should.
It's like diversification, right?
Yeah.
And investing enough that if you lose it, then it's not going to make you bankrupt, right?
Yeah.
So just having an allocation, I think it's it is the way I see it. It's like gold.
Mm-hmm.
It's a store of value, which is easily exchangeable in and out. Whereas gold isn't. You've got to get on certain exchanges. You can't really, have a bar of gold, or it's quite expensive to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with Bitcoin, it's very easy, and it's something that is transacted all over the world, and exchanges allow you to do it in a fairly safe way. So for me, I think it will be around, and I think it will go to zero. I think there is a lot of hype around some of the smaller coins, and they come and go. All the meme coins that did just do well because Bitcoin does well. But I think Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're probably here to stay. But anyway, that's a separate topic. On property as well, there is, he was telling us about this fractional ownership. That allows you to get exposure. Yeah, so it's a tech platform, but it's they actually buy the underlying properties, and then the tech platform basically allow you to invest from as little as 1,000 dirhams. So you can get exposure to the property market without actually having to put all your eggs into one apartment, for example. Whereas if that's not let, or if it doesn't do well, then you lose money. So that gives you exposure to the local market without having to put in hundreds of thousands of pounds or dollars into one particular property.
The thing which puts me off it is any potential headache or stress that comes with owning a property. I don't need any more of that in my life. So the last thing I need is tenants messing up my house, or getting calls saying that this needs replacing, the boiler needs replacing. I know there's people who can take care of that for you, but I've also heard other people saying how much of a nightmare it is. So this is something which is kind of put me off a little bit.
Are there any downsides to living in Dubai?
Well, for me, traffic is still the number one issue at the moment, which as I said, it will hopefully be resolved in the future. Because when I'm going somewhere, I just want to go there fast. I don't want to be waiting around in traffic. And I remember when I first moved here, it was just a lot easier. The roads were a lot more empty. I used to enjoy driving a lot more. So that's a problem. The weather during the summer is very intense. So you will find towards the end of May, beginning of June, a lot of people tend to leave. So that people will either go back home, a lot of people go to Europe, they go to Bali. Like, people are just escaping the intense heat and humidity. And it is intense. Like, you have to experience it for yourself to get a real understanding of what I'm talking about. You cannot be outside. For those people who just like to stay inside and just lock in and get work done, it's probably the best opportunity to get it done, because there will be minimal distractions. There's nothing going on outside and everybody leaves. So you could probably have like 3 of the most productive months of your life, which I haven't thought about doing, but haven't quite done yet, because I like to be outside. And obviously for me, when it comes to not only creating content in interesting placings, but to collaborate with people, there's less people to collaborate with in the summer because nobody's really coming here. And then obviously I can't film anything outside, so everything I film would be indoors. So that's why I sort of travel, which is fine. And I think that's one of the reasons why I appreciate and love Dubai more, because I have that break from it. So when I leave, it's obviously nice to go to a new place. Whether go back to the UK or a place in Europe. Spain is a place where I spend a lot of time, and you enjoy being in those places. But then very quickly you start to see how inefficient things are. Things are done very slowly. Things might not be open. For example, Sunday, everything shuts, or things close at lunchtime for a siesta. It's like, why are you closing your business? Like, I want your service or product. And you just notice that people are, this is quite slow to get going with business deals, or maybe you just find there's not many people who are really on it. I find that my productivity levels tend to go down when I go back to Europe, because there's some places I go to where I feel like nobody's really working. Everyone's just kind of chilling and relaxing. Maybe that's my own fault for going to places like that where everybody's just having fun. So when the longer I am away from Dubai, the more I end up missing it and appreciating it. And when I come back, I'm just like, oh my God, like, it's nice to be back. Everything's so easy. Everything is so convenient. It's very clean, very safe. And it just makes you want to work and get stuff done. So that's why I love being here. When I'm here, it's an amazing time to build. Downside is really down to just the individual and what you like and don't like. You'll get a lot of people saying, oh, it's such a fake place. And it's like, well, all cities are artificial at the end of the day. So this is just another city. There is maybe a lack of nature, but for me, I have the beach and I have the sea. So that makes me happy. I don't really care so much about trees and forest. I like beach and sea. But for those people who do like nature, that might start to grow on them in a negative way, and they might miss that. And then there is quite a lot of flashiness and materialistic presence here. And that it sometimes feels like it isn't a real place, like you're in a little bubble, which is not like the rest of the world. And like the city and the cars and everything else, it can seem very kind of shallow and materialistic. And you'll find a lot of the people here are the dating scene is an interesting one. It's like a adult playground, but everything seems to be quite short term and very sort of replaceable quickly. So I think you can find true love here and a good partner, but you just have to look in places that are not, nightclubs, bars, and things like that. You can find normal people doing normal things in the gyms, and like probably early on in the morning. So you just have to kind of pick and choose who you spend time with and where you're going to be going.
Have you spent many summers here?
No. Not. There's times when I've thought, okay, yeah, I'll give it a try, but it's just intense. But I'm just the type of person that likes to be outdoors. I think that the longest I stayed was during that lockdown year 2020, where I was here till like mid-July. But it was intense. But the thing is that it's very well adapted to the heat. Everywhere you go to, you've got air conditioning. and there's lots to do indoors. So
And they even have air conditioning outside, right? So in the cafes and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
terraces, air conditioning blowing on you. So it just helps to relieve it. I mean, the only time I was there in August, I was telling Joss earlier, was when I got married. I got married back in 2004. And the worst experience was actually, it was in Medina Jumeirah, the Mina Salam Hotel, and the canals around there.
Yeah.
So we were having photos around there in the canals.
In August?
Yeah, in our suit and everything. And my wife and I were thinking, oh, just get us inside. This is insane.
Wow.
This is so hot.
Did you not know that it was going to be that hot?
We did, but it's kind of, you're there, right? So you've got to take the photos, and you have the photographers and everyone there. So it's just one of the things that had to be done. I think it was in the evening time, but even then it's still really humid.
It's intense in August.
Yeah. But anyway, so anyone looking to get married in Dubai, don't do it in August.
Yeah.
So we've got some downsides. Do you think you'd ever leave Dubai to come back to the UK long term?
I think,
what do you think?
Going back to the UK, probably not. The only thing I miss about the UK is my family. That's pretty much it. I have obviously gone back over the past couple of years for like weeks at a time, and then very quickly I just want to get out. It's not for me. Some people love it, some people don't, but I don't think it's for me. We could see maybe what happens in Saudi, for example. Maybe 5 years' time, 10 years' time, it becomes the next place to be, the next Dubai, where all the talent, all the businesses and opportunities are there, in which case I would probably go there. I don't see why not. But obviously, hopefully it wouldn't be too conservative. If it ends up still being too conservative, then I'd prefer to stay here. And then, again, if we're assuming that they fix the traffic, it remains safe, it remains a place where there's good quality people, good opportunities, then for sure I'd stay here. I think the only thing that would maybe change things is based on my circumstances and, if I have a family, so having kids. Then I would look at this place in a completely different point of view, because it's no longer just like selfish Mike looking out for himself and what he likes. It's like, okay, well, now you've got a partner now, and then you've got kids. So is this a good place to raise your children and have a family? Of course, it's very safe, but I haven't really looked into the education system. It's probably not going to be very cheap. I think the only people who get free education are the actual Emiratis themselves. Everybody else has to pay. And then, what would the quality of their life be and their experience of being a kid be like? Yeah, I don't know yet. I haven't really looked into it too much. Maybe potentially Spain might be an option for raising a family there. I don't know. I haven't looked into it too much, but we'll see. As of now, I'm pretty good having the base here.
Yeah, I think you're in a good position where you're solo, you're not tied down, and therefore being in a place which gives you that drive, that energy, that environment that is going to help you to achieve your potential. Dubai's a great place to be. My brother-in-law moved out here last year, the year before, and they've got 3 kids. And yes, you've got to pay for private school, and schools are pretty good actually, to be fair, but you do have to pay. But that said, if your kids are already going to private school in the UK, then it's actually cheaper to be in a private school or in a school in Dubai compared to the UK, particularly now that they've just added VAT onto school fees as well from January, which is ridiculous. So
where, here or there?
No, in the UK.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 20%. So you're already paying over the roof. My kids go to private school, and now I'm paying 20% on top of that.
Wow.
So it just they just put more and more blockers in place for anyone in the UK who's doing well to try and get them out.
What do they do in the summertime? The kids stay here?
They tend to come back.
Okay.
Yeah, so they've come back in the last summer. So it's worked out quite well. So
Yeah.
both my wife's brother, he moved to Dubai. Her sister moved to Doha a few years ago as well. So we're the only ones of her family kind of left back in the UK. So we have been toying with the idea, but my wife hates the heat and she loves nature. Like, although we live by the beach, so she gets her walks in, but she loves trees and greenery, all that kind of stuff, which obviously you don't get here. But it's got to that point now where it is that life in the UK has gone downhill so much that you see what's happening in the Middle East and how efficient and clean and safe it is. And yes, there are challenges with bringing up kids over here. Like here, it's the reason why we wouldn't be too keen on Dubai is because there is a lot of glitz, glamour. It's not real for kids, lots of temptation, that kind of thing. So that's kind of a downside to bringing up kids here. But then there are also downsides in the UK, like they can't just go out and play because it's not safe, and you hear things happening in the UK all the time. So I guess there's pros and cons of every place, right? You just got to weigh it up and see what's best for you. In terms of someone looking to move out here, in order to be able to live a reasonable lifestyle, so you want to come here, and you don't want to be in a case where you can't go out because you don't have the money to be able to go and eat out and do things, because ultimately it's a bit of a playground. So you want to be able to enjoy some of that lifestyle. What would you say is required as a minimum baseline for someone thinking of moving out here in terms of, let's say, the monthly income to be able to accommodate the cost of living in Dubai when it comes to renting a decent enough place in a decent enough area, to be able to have that disposable income to spend, to go out to cafes, restaurants, etc.? What do they need to be?
I wouldn't want to be the type of person who comes out here with no revenue coming in, or a very small amount of revenue coming in, because it's just too much of a risk. I would rather stay where I am, or maybe like go live with your parents for a bit to build up the foundations of your business and get good revenue coming in. That's what I did just before I moved to London. I went home, stayed with my dad for a month, just to literally sort my life out, build my website, and start offering the online coaching. Then I had money coming in. Then I could make that move to go to the UK. So the last thing I would want to do is come here and be desperately trying to find a job, right? Either have the money coming in to begin with, or have a job already secured where you've got like a monthly paycheck, which is going to be coming in. So that's first thing. And then second thing, I like to enjoy myself and feel comfortable. So this answer will not necessarily apply to everyone. I would say the absolute minimum would probably just to be here and have everything covered. But you're probably going to have to be on a budget. You definitely have to be on a budget, probably £5,000 a month. Once you get past the threshold of £10,000 a month, you're pretty comfortable, because you can say no to all of these things. You can go do like a grocery shop, keep your expenses related to food quite low. You could have one gym membership. You could get a very eco-friendly budget car to rent, a fairly reasonable apartment, maybe it's just a 1-bedroom studio. So you can be here, you can have your car, you can do everything which you need to do and just lock in, focus, and just grow and build more money. So I'd say probably around £5,000 you can get by.
Yeah, that's pretty tight. Yeah.
Then £10,000 onwards, it's okay.
Yeah, when we do the calculations, normally in terms of looking at the tax savings, it's usually bare minimum 10k.
10k.
Yeah, and then 15k is where it can sort of make sense for you in terms of being able to afford to kind of be in a reasonable place and be able to just live life here as well. And most people, if you're at 10, 15k and your income is rising and you're kind of building your business, then it makes sense, because if your income is going to go up, that's only going to make it easier for you and be able to enjoy the stuff that Dubai has to offer.
Maybe I'm being a bit delusional with that 5k. So I'll probably ignore that. That's the thing. I've never actually tried to be on a proper budget. So that 5k would probably not be very fun at all.
Not at all. Maybe live in Sharjah. And live out the Lulu.
But there is something which you can do, which some of my staff are doing it. They've one of them is staying in a villa in near Kite Beach. So there's a villa, 8 people, 8 bedrooms stay in the villa. So they're sharing with the other people in one villa, and they end up paying not a whole lot. I think it's like €1,000 or less per month. So you can, if you are willing to share with people, the accommodation can be very cheap. And then you just have the rest of your expenses to pay for. Okay. So
and I guess that's probably going to be quite commonplace, because people are going to come here and need to share.
Yeah.
So that might be a good way of even to get to know people if you don't know anyone here to house share for a bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's a risk because you have no idea who you're going to be stuck with.
True.
But that definitely, if you want to do the accommodation on a budget, you can be willing to share.
What advice would you give to someone who's on the fence, who's seen what Dubai has to offer? They've watched this video, they've watched others, their business is in a good place where they don't have to be in any particular location in order to run that business. What would you say to them in terms of the best advice to come to Dubai and start a life over here?
Stop procrastinating and just do it. The amount of people who I will meet and they're like, oh, I'm thinking about doing it, but I just don't know. And it's like, just do it. Like the worst thing that will happen is that you just end up going back home. But the amount you will learn and the experience you will gain just from trying it, if it's a couple of months, 6 months, it's priceless. It would be worth it. And most of the people who, for example, remember the video I made, like my honest review of living in Dubai for 3 years. I think there's over 2 million people who have watched that now. And the amount of people who have come up to me and said they watched that video and they moved to Dubai. Like that, all those people who are on the fence, they watched that video and they're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do it. Everybody that's come here has said it was like the best thing that they've ever done. Now, it's not to say that everybody should go to Dubai, because actually I don't want that, because you're going to make the roads more busy. So stay out of Dubai. But actually, there's other cities you can go to. So people who are on the fence about relocating or wanting to get out of the UK, you do have other options. And there's also a lot of places around the world which are also pretty good with the taxes. I think even Bali is now... there's Bali, and then Portugal is pretty good.
Portugal is quite good for digital nomads.
And there's also some South American countries.
You got usual Singapore, Hong Kong.
So there are other options. It doesn't have to be Dubai, but it just so happens Dubai is quite good. So my advice would be just do it. And
it's quite central in the world as well. So I presume when you've come to Dubai, you've been able to go to other places using Dubai as a base, because you went to Japan, right?
So there's all of Southeast Asia, which originally would be really quite far away from the UK, where you'd actually have to do a stopover in Dubai, which is now, I wouldn't say it's on your doorstep, but it's certainly a lot closer. And then you have like really cool places like the Maldives, like 4 hours away. You got Maldives, you got Seychelles, Zanzibar, Madagascar soon, they'll be having flights there. So, and then there's going back to even Rome. I flew from Rome the other day, that was just like 5.5 hours. Yeah. And this is close to Turkey, Greece.
Have you found that, because I know some people have mentioned that when you book flights, like booking flights from the UK to Dubai, it's cheaper than booking flights originating out of Dubai to come back to the UK or to go to other places. Have you found that?
Interesting. I did not know that. I guess it makes sense. But so what? So it would make, I would have to go on a VPN and say that was in the UK and kind of try and go on the English.
No, if let's say you're booking a return from the UK,
okay,
it will cost you less than if you were booking a return flight to the UK from Dubai. So you're here, you want to go to the UK and come back. Like that's more expensive than someone coming from the UK to Dubai and going back to the UK.
Well, maybe Dubai subsidizes those flights because they want people to come and spend.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's probably the case. Dubai is well connected, right, in terms of there's flights everywhere.
But there's so many from the UK though. Like you've got Manchester, Birmingham, Stansted, all the London airports. Yeah. So it's easy to go backwards and forwards.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. How often do you come back to the UK in a typical year now?
So this year, I went back in January. I think it was the beginning of February. Then I went back, I think, twice in the summer. I'm going to go back in 2 weeks for a family reunion, and then I'll go back at Christmas. So probably 4 times per year. Usually, if I go back, I make a stop in London and maybe do a couple of podcasts whilst I'm there. So the main reason would be to do podcasts, collaborate, or see family. That's pretty much it.
You're spending less than 90 days in the UK. That's the main thing. Yeah. For tax reasons.
That's not really the issue. It's more so the issue of now that you can only spend 90 days in the Schengen region. So I got dangerously close to going past that 90-day allocation, because obviously throughout the summer, I was spending pretty much the whole time in Europe. And then I think there's a Schengen app where I'd put all the dates in. When I was inside the Schengen region, I was like, oh God, I need to get out.
Okay, and I think we've covered a lot of ground there, Mike, so I appreciate you sharing that with us today. Is there anything before we close that you think is worth sharing for our audience today that might be still looking to move over, maybe considering other options? Any final words?
These guys, best accountants in the game. If you are on the fence with working with them, then I suggest work with them. I think that the most important thing for me is when it comes to accounts and finances, like I just want somebody to take care of that. Okay, so to make it as easy as possible for me, so I don't have to stress and spend too much of my time, getting stuck into the numbers. But also to know that it's being done properly, because I know there's a lot of schneidy accountants. Even I think before I was working with you, the person I was working with didn't have a clue what they were doing, and then we had to fix like 2 years worth of accounts. I think a lot of people make the mistake when they're not really earning much money, and then all of a sudden they start making lots of money, and they just think, hey, this money's all for me. And it's like, well, no, it's not. Like, you need to pay what taxes are due to be paid. And the sooner you do that, the better. I've got a friend of mine, obviously I won't name his name. He just hasn't paid tax for like, at all. For like, I don't think he's ever paid tax. I'm like, bro, you are literally an idiot. Like, start paying tax. So you got to make sure that is covered, because the last thing I would want is for, I don't know, HMRC or the Dubai taxman to, you know, slap me with a big fine, or even worse, put me in prison for avoiding tax. Like, you just don't want to do that. I'd rather pay more of a premium price to have better accountants to make sure that what is done needs to be done.
Can't put a value on peace of mind, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And keeping you out of jail.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mike. Really appreciate your time here today. Hopefully you've had a value from this video and your questions have been answered. If not, pop them in the comments and we'll try and arrange some content to answer them in future. We'll link some other videos around this so you can check those out if you're thinking of moving to Dubai and still have some questions. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next video. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.